Hello and welcome to Sideline Story, your destination for sports news, analysis and discussions. I'm Yang Guang. The NBA basketball is finally back. What can we expect from Chinese rookie Yang Hansen's game? Which team has the championship winning look? To unpack the questions, I'm joined here with my fantastic co-hosts Tian Yu and Brandon Yates. Alright, the new season of the NBA has officially tipped off, and for fans in China, the biggest excitement must be Chinese rookie Yang Hansen with the Portland Trail Blazers. Yang Hansen's preseason games have given us a mixed bag, some flashes of brilliance with his passing, with his, touch around the rim, but also the expected rookie struggles with his foul troubles and his physicality issues. So Tian Yu, setting the realistic expectations, what should we be looking for from Yang Hansen in year one? And can he be a genuine rotation player right away with Portland?
Well, if you just look at Yang Hansen's summer league numbers, he's about 24 minutes per game with 10.8 points, 5 rebounds, almost 4 assists, and over 2 blocks on 45% shooting. And I would say he actually did a solid job. But once the preseason started and he had to face higher level or even all-star level players, the gap was pretty obvious, I would say, because against the Warriors, guys like Al Horford and Jimmy Butler basically gave him like a welcome to the NBA lesson. You could see he was struggling with stamina issues and withstanding the physical intensity. And those constant body confrontations and bumps and the stricter foul calls really caught him off guard, I would say. And then there was the game against the Jazz when facing players like Kessler, Nurkic, and Bamba. His weaknesses in physical battles just got fully exposed. Like you said, he only took 2 shots in 15 minutes. He made a 3, but he finished with 0 rebounds and fouled out with 6. And I would say that was pretty rough. But despite the bumps, he's also had some flashes. Like in the game against the Kings, he hit back-to-back threes with confidence and then just showed off his full bag, grabbing a board, pushing the ball coast to coast, making the right pass, and finishing through contact. So he looked like a modern big man who can stretch the floor and just move with purpose. So I think the potential of him is real. But right now, I think his lack of NBA experience, his lack of stamina and strength are his clear weak spots. Realistically, I wouldn't expect him to make a splash right away in his rookie season. If he can just show steady improvements in limited appearing minutes, I would say that's already a big win for us Chinese fans.
Right, we didn't see consistency from Yang Hansen's preseason games. In one game, he ended up the game with 3 points and was fouled out. And for another, he could score like 10 points within 12 points within 10 minutes. That's remarkable. So, Brandon, let's get specific. What's the stats line you would consider a success for Yang Hansen in the new season? Are we thinking about something like 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, something like that? Or is the impact going to be in the areas the numbers won't reflect?
So look, I think there's a couple of factors to assess how things could potentially go for Yang Hansen's debut season. I mean, Tian Yu spoke about, in his preseason how he fouled out in his debut, but it still looked pretty impressive before that. He kind of went down that route, 4 points, 4 rebounds, which is pretty impressive, an assist and 4 turnovers. So, those numbers, I think, for a rookie coming from a foreign nation and for Chinese fans, I think that's a pretty exciting beginning, especially against a team like the Golden State Warriors. I think he definitely, if we're going to be very critical, which I don't think we should be, but, I think, the fact that he's in the NBA, we kind of have to be hypercritical because he is going to be competing against the best players and the best teams in the world. And we also have high hopes that he can go on and be a very long-lasting, impactful professional. I think some of the initial signs pointed to that maybe he struggled a bit in terms of lateral mobility and perimeter awareness on defense. early on, I think it will be key to see how quickly he adapts to NBA pace, things like quicker guards, the pick and pop game, and more athletic bigs, which is something I think is incredibly important because we know that, from the time of Yao Ming to now, NBA bigs have become a lot leaner, a lot faster, and a lot more mobile. So I think that the criticism or the analysis of bigs has become a bit more nuanced. And I think that's something that Yang Hansen is going to have to be very aware of if he's going to have a great impact in this league, which, like I said earlier, we really hope that he will have. He's also known for his offensive playmaking and post craft. And, as we know, he's a very good passer for a 7 foot plus center with a great basketball IQ. So we have to see if Portland uses him as a point big or playmaking hub in certain lineups and see how many assists he can grab. And judging by that preseason game, assists aren't going to be a problem for him. I know it was only one assist, but I think the overall impact that he had in that game, and from early signs that we've seen in preseason and in practices and that sort of thing, he does seem to have a lot of variety in his game, and I think that assists are going to be a big part of that. And look, from his time in China, he was definitely a standout in terms of his defensive and rebounding impact. But scouts at the moment are talking about his mobility and physicality might limit his rim protection and switch capabilities at an NBA level. As we know, as much as I love the CBA and, going to Beijing Ducks games, the NBA, I think we can all agree, is a massive step up, right? Especially for a youngster that's also not used to living in the United States. So I think the question will be, will he be able to be a plus rim protector, a rebounder, and an anchor defensively, or will his impact be more limited initially? So look, I think initially we can expect, a couple of points and rebounds and assists per game, maybe not so many blocks. But I think there's definitely elements of his game that need to be worked on. I think what's going to be most exciting for Portland is that they kind of have a blank slate to work with that seems to be displaying levels of ability in a variety of areas that they may require. So I think it's going to be a conversation between him and the Portland higher ups and the coaching staff to figure out where they need him and where he's best suited in his first season in the NBA. Hopefully, he won't be limited to a certain style, but just for the benefit of his organization, at least, they might need him to perform a certain role. But hopefully, as the seasons progress and he becomes more comfortable with NBA level basketball, we can see him reaching his potential and fulfilling all the elements of his game that we believe that he can thrive in. Whether that happens in his first season remains to be seen. But I think at this point in time, what might be best for him at Portland is to give him a role within the team, but away from match time, fine-tune other elements of his game so that as the season itself, the first season and further seasons progress, we can see more and more elements of his game that will hopefully come to the forefront as he matures and gets more experience in this incredibly competitive and difficult league.
Right. From my perspective, my wild guess is that in the best case scenario, Yang Hansen could make a 10-point, 5 rebound, 3 assist season, because he can definitely bring the Portland Trailblazers some weapon the team hasn't owned before, with his, playmaking and post-up plays. But the presumption is that he must be given the ball to maximize his capabilities. That means he must use every minute on the court in the regular season, especially in the early stages, to earn trust. I would say the first 20 matches would be the key. And by the way, what impressed me the most from Yang Hansen is not the scoring or assists, but the screens he set up for his teammates. There's a play where Yang Hansen set up a screen for his teammate Daniel Avdia in the paint, firmly blocking the opponent's center from behind him, and which allows Avdia to make an easy basket. That play reminded me of Marcin Gortat, who is famous for his screening skills. These skills don't reflect in stats, but is a valuable asset for Yang Hansen and the Blazers. When we talk about Chinese players in the NBA, we can't miss Yao Ming. His shadow looms large on any talented Chinese players entering the league. Well, it's kind of unfair to put Hall of Fame pressure on the young players. It's inevitable that people start to compare Yao Ming with Yang Hansen. So Tianyu, let's reframe it. What is Yang Hansen's realistic ceiling? We know he's not the physical force Yao was, but his skill set as a playmaking center is actually very fascinating.
Well, yeah. If we are being totally objective here, I think Yang's got clear strengths and weaknesses. The good things about him is, like you said, he's got solid footwork, great hands, and smart passing, and a soft touch. That kind of, mini Jokic style where he can catch and pass with one hand. He can be unselfish, and he has high basketball IQ, and he loves the game and isn't afraid of body contacts. That's the advantages about him. But the issues about him right now is his stamina and his defense. I mean, he struggles in fast-paced games, and he can't switch effectively and tends to lose focus when he got tired, which leads to more fouls and turnovers. So I think he fits better with structured lineups because, like you said, when he's paired with players who move the ball smartly, that's when you see his shooting and his playmaking and passing ability really shine. But with the bench unit, when the game gets chaotic, I think that's when his weapons just got off the bench and just got useless, and his rhythm just falls apart. So I would say he's like a high IQ wizard player. He's got great skills, but not quite tanky enough to survive the physical grind of the NBA arena. So I think what he needs to do right now is to toughen up, move better on the court, and defend without falling if he really wants to get more steady playing minutes.
Right. Remember, Yao Ming didn't even shine in his first few games in the NBA as well. So I think it's too soon to judge Yang Hansen couldn't reach Yao Ming's height. But I think these two players are two completely different players. I mean, Yang Hansen is a product of a modern basketball era, which requires multifunctional centers that can shoot threes, that can set up plays, besides the traditional tasks of rim protection and blocking shots. I mean, Yang Hansen, yes, he might not be that good in terms of individual excellence compared with Yao Ming, but he's something modern basketball needs. I think that's the brightest signal for Yang Hansen in his just beginning NBA career. So, Brandon, what do you think is the biggest challenge standing between Yang Hansen and reaching his all-star potential?
Look, I think some of the biggest challenges that Yang Hansen will face just from a mental standpoint and from a realistic standpoint is that who compares to Yao Ming, guys? How can we, just because he's Chinese, we're going to compare this guy to Yao Ming? It's like saying because I'm South African, I'm going to compare myself because I played rugby at high school, then I'm going to compare myself to the greatest Springbok rugby player of all time. It's so unfair. Of course, as sports journalists, we are going to do that. But man, it's really unfair to the man. And if I ever met him, I would just apologize and say, please, just do your own thing and become the best version of yourself that you can become. So from my perspective, I mean, I'll get into the biggest challenges now, but I think that realistically, I think even at the peak of his powers, I think that he won't go down as an all-time great as Yao Ming did, because we have to remember, he is an all-time great. Yao Ming is one of the best big men that this league has ever seen. And there have been many, many talented big men in the NBA. And Yao Ming is probably in, I would say, at least the top 5 in terms of overall impact and longevity and success. So I don't think Yang Hansen, look, I mean, anything's possible, but I personally don't believe that he will get to that level. I think that he could potentially be an all-star here and there. And I think that at the end of his career, if all things go according to plan, he can be a regular starter for a massive franchise. But going down as an all-time great, I think that might be a stretch too far to him. I hope I'm proven wrong. But yeah, I think to put him in the same conversation as Yao Ming in terms of potential, I think is a huge ask. But I mean, to cover some of the potential stumbling blocks that he may face, I think there have been questions about his athletic abilities and explosiveness. I think, there's been rumors that he's got slower feet and faces difficulties recovering in the pick and roll or perimeter situations. There's also been questions about his defensive versatility, translation of skills from the CBA to the NBA, and then, of course, we have to see where he stands in terms of injuries fitting into the team, whether he can also handle an offensive load. So I think there's the issue that Yang Hansen is facing at this point in time, besides being compared to one of the greatest basketball players of all time just because he's Chinese, is that there's so many questions that have yet to be answered. And I think that could also be his biggest motivating factor, because we haven't seen much of him and he was so dominant in the CBA and there's so much promise around him. It's kind of within his own hands to determine how far he can go. Of course, there's injuries and physical development and that sort of thing, but I really do believe that if he has the right mentality, the right people around him, and if he is a self-starter and a self-motivator, which I believe he is, considering that he left China to go all the way to the United States, which I can tell you as someone that left South Africa to move to China, that shift in culture is, I think that's a massive display of bravery, from day one. So, and generally, I believe fortune favors the brave. So if he stays strong, if he grabs his minutes and does the most with them, if he follows Portland's advice and does what the team requires and also works hard off court, I think the sky is the limit for this young talent. I don't know if there's any big men in the NBA right now that can get to Yao Ming's level, but I think that Yang Hansen has definitely got the potential to go down as a regular NBA starter, and that in itself, for a non-American, is a massive achievement.
Right. Before we move on, here's a quick review of the biggest sports headlines in China and around the world for the past week. Chinese rookie Yang Hansen made his NBA regular season debut in Portland Trail Blazers season opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yang played for 5 minutes, bagging 2 points and 1 rebound. Portland lost the game at home 118 to 114. Anthony Edwards scored game-high 41 points for the Wolves. Arsenal has powered to a third straight win in the Champions League with a dominant 4-0 victory over Atletico Madrid at Emirates Stadium. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta spoke highly of Victor Gyökeres, who bagged a brace.
He's so physical, he opens the spaces for everybody, the way he presses the ball, holds the ball. It's just phenomenal.
Elsewhere, Paris Saint-Germain scored 3 times in 7 minutes at the end of a chaotic first half to crush host Bayer Leverkusen 7-2. Real Madrid edged Juventus 1-0 thanks to Jude Bellingham's first goal of the season. Barcelona stormed to a 6-1 victory over Olympiacos, powered by a hat-trick from Fermin Lopez and 2 goals from Marcus Rashford. Liverpool bounced back from a 4-game losing streak to thrash Frankfurt 5-1. Bayern Munich registered the 12th consecutive win across all competitions by beating Club Brugge 4-0. In Formula 1, Max Verstappen dominated the US Grand Prix from pole position, leading every lap to cut Oscar Piastri's championship lead from 104 points in August to 40 now. The Red Bull driver also won Saturday's sprint race, completing a perfect weekend in Austin.
If you look at the whole race, the pace between myself and Lando was really close. I think just in that first stint, that's where we made the difference. I could eke out a little bit of a gap, and that's basically what we kept till the end.
McLaren's Lando Norris finished second after a hard-fought battle with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, while Piastri crossed line 5th, maintaining a 14-point advantage over his teammate with 5 races and 2 sprints remaining. In Major League Baseball, George Springer smashed a 3-run homer in the 7th inning to lift the Toronto Blue Jays to a 4-3 win over the Seattle Mariners, sending them to their first World Series since 1993. Blue Jays manager John Schneider.
I've said it before, besides my wife and kids, this is what I pour my life into. We're going to enjoy tonight big time and realize how hard it is to get here and then get back to work and get ready for the Dodgers.
The Blue Jays now look to end their 32-year championship drought against the defending champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers. In tennis, former world number 1 Daniil Medvedev ended an 882-day trophy drought by defeating Corentin Moutet in a 3-set final at Almaty Open, keeping his hopes alive for a spot at the season-ending ATP Finals. The victory marks Medvedev's 21st career title and his 40th tour-level final, making him the second active man after Novak Djokovic to reach that milestone. Welcome back. One of the two games to start the NBA regular season on Tuesday night was between probably the two most popular teams in the league right now, the Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers. Golden State ended up as the winner in that game, but LA was playing without LeBron James. There are so many talking points about this tie, such as LeBron, Stephen Curry debate. Luka Doncic is rising in LA. By the way, he scored over 40 points in that season opener. Crazy. Impressive. And Golden State's dilemma with Kuminga contract and the oldest squad in the league. But Tianyu, which of these two titans are you betting on to have a better season?
First of all, let's talk about the Lakers. I think offense isn't an issue for the Lakers because, as you just said, Doncic just scored over 40 points. He looks locked in after slimming down in the new season. And even though LeBron's in his the twilight of his career, I think he's still got the glue that keeps everything flowing in the team. And also Austin Reeves just proves to be a reliable third option after Doncic and LeBron James. The real issue of the Lakers, again, is their defense. The balance between offensive and defensive lineups is really tough because, guys like Hachimura, he can bring scoring and spacing, but he can't always hold their own defensively. Someone like Vanderbilt just gives you elite defense abilities, but he can hurt spacing. So finding that right mix in the Lakers is still an issue they need to deal with immediately in the new season. For the Warriors, Steph Curry's still being him. He's the all-time shooter, but at his age, he just can't carry the whole team forward like always. That's where Jimmy Butler and Draymond come in. Butler's physicality and ability to draw fouls just complements Steph's spacing. But if both he and Draymond can't stretch the floor, that just clogs things up fast. Draymond's mind is still elite. He's got the experience and basketball IQ, but his body is starting to lag behind. He sees everything, but sometimes he just can't execute. But that's it. As long as Steph Curry stays healthy, I think the Warriors will always be dangerous. And from their first matchup, I think the Warriors look slightly sharper than Lakers right now. Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler still have some gas left in the tank. But over the long season, I think both teams face similar issues. That is the depth of their squad. So neither squad looks deep enough to survive a deep or a long playoff grind, I would say.
Okay, listening to your analysis, it's not like who's getting better between the two, but who is getting worse. When we compare these two fan favorite teams, the Lakers actually ended the regular season last season in a higher position, but the Golden State Warriors went deeper in the playoffs. I guess the debate between the two teams about who is the better side never seems to end. And from my side, I don't view either team as title contenders this season, but for their fans, this head-to-head rivalry seems much more important than the championship chase. Brandon, from your analysis, which team do you think will be more successful this season?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be interesting for both teams, but early on, I think there's a couple of things that the Lakers might be dealing with that they weren't anticipating that might, in my opinion, give the Warriors a slight edge. For example, in the beginning of the season, they have very few known major injury concerns, although potentially an aging roster is a factor, although Yang Tianyu, I think we've been talking about, the aging Steph Curry and Draymond Green and whatever for quite a while now, but it doesn't seem to be having that much of an impact. I guess it does in terms of their past dominance, but I don't know, in terms of this conversation, I don't know how much of an impact that will have, especially when they've got, a great support crew, in the form of Jimmy Butler and also the veteran Al Horford, who just seems to defy all limitations and is like the Cristiano Ronaldo of the NBA and just seems to have no aging factor whatsoever. So I think that roster depth and experience might give the Warriors a little bit of an edge early on. And of course, the major news is that the Lakers have, an immediate injury concern. Apparently, LeBron James is sidelined for at least 3 to 4 weeks with a sciatica issue, if I'm not mistaken. The Warriors have clearer chemistry amongst their veterans, and they also are facing a lot fewer changes than the Lakers are going through. The Lakers are still adjusting to new pieces, and we're still waiting to see the best of the Luka Doncic and LeBron James combination. And of course, with LeBron's aging issue and injury concerns, I think it's just limiting the amount of time that LeBron and Luka have together. So that's concerning. That being said, the Lakers with Luka are always dangerous. We've spoken about this before, and if LeBron returns and everything clicks, they could definitely outperform early expectations. But I think at this early stage, I think the favor might be with the Warriors. But I think it's a bit of a coin toss. The Warriors ultimately have a little bit more depth, a little bit more experience, and of course, more chemistry and potentially less injury concerns, at least at the time of of recording this podcast.
Right. Before we wrap up, let's play a quick game. I'm going to name a few teams, and you guys give me the first words that comes to mind to describe their roster construction this season. Let's feel the vibe of each team. Brandon, I will start with you. The first team, the LA Lakers. What's the first word that comes to mind?
I would say retooling.
Interesting. How about the Portland Trail Blazers?
With Yang Hansen in mind, I would say project.
The New York Knicks.
Expectant. Their fans are very demanding, probably the most demanding in the league.
Right. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions.
Deep.
The Dallas Mavericks.
Star-studded.
Okay. The Miami Heat.
Sharpening.
The Denver Nuggets.
I think this is something we've spoken about them since their last title. Depth challenged.
Okay, Brandon has given us some interesting words describing the teams. Now, Tianyu, your turn. No hesitation. First thing popping into your mind. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, the first team, the Golden State Warriors.
Well, veterans, because like you just said.
Yeah. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, soft. Because I mean, they've been very good in regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, they just completely tanked
In key moments,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The Houston Rockets.
Title contenders.
The Indiana Pacers.
Almost. Last season's final is just vivid in my mind.
The LA Clippers.
Fragile.
Fragile because Kawhi's contract.
Yeah, Kawhi's contract, yeah.
And finally, the Phoenix Suns.
Top heavy, because, they've got too many...
Gods.
Yeah, God options, yes.
Right. Yeah, that's a fun game. Let's see which of the teams will make a splash in the new season of the NBA and how Yang Hansen, the Chinese hopeful, will perform in his rookie year. With that, we end this episode of Sideline Story. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to Sideline Story and leave your comments wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information, you can also check our website at radio.cgtn.com. Until next time, stay on the sidelines with us.